It's always great to see a good pushback in the mainstream media. In this case, it was from a truthful pundit. Well, as it turns out, from the Atlantic Council came one of their pundits, one of their reps that came out and said, and they tried to push the same old Trump narrative that somehow Donald Trump was tougher on Russians than was President Biden. Of course, what Donald Trump was doing was using policies from the past administrations, but let's let it stand. It turns out that when Ayman Mohayedin asked a few questions of this woman, she decided to tell them, first of all, that, hey, you guys are a speculative show, and by the way, you don't really have it right, because Donald Trump was tougher on Russia. Of course, that's not the truth. And while watching it, I sat there and I'm like, who is going to refute this woman? Well, Ayman did a good job. He first said, wait a minute, wasn't this guy trying to undermine Russia by trying to destroy NATO? And she had to admit, yes, that's true. But the coup de grace came later on when she was put in her place based on what really occurred. Listen to this, and then let's go ahead and take it on the other side.
Melinda, can you give us the long view here on what Tom was describing? How did the GOP evolve from the party of Reagan's Cold War mentality to where they are now, or where they were just prior to the Russian invasion?
There's some problems with some of the arguments you guys have laid out. So Zelensky did get the meeting. He got the White House meeting last year. And there's some other problems with some of the arguments you guys have laid out. Trump was terrible on Ukraine. He was obnoxious. He got rid of Yovanovitch. He did also, he brought about a Ukraine gate. All that's true. But his actual policy was not bad. He was actually pretty tough on Russia. And I think that gets lost in the debate. Would he or would he not have gone in now? So the interesting thing is that the Russians are more scared of Trump than they are of Biden. The Russians think that Biden is weak. And that was one of the reasons why they calculated that they could go in now. They were scared of Trump because he was irrational and he's erratic. So I'm not sure, this is a highly speculative show, but I think that has to be part of the discussion as well.
No, it's fair enough. But let me ask you really quickly, do you feel that Trump weakened the European or transatlantic alliance and weakened NATO, or certainly set out to do that?
Absolutely. I think that's unquestionably true. But I think the important thing is how.
Sorry, can I just follow up on that real quick? If that was
Sure.
If that was something that Trump did set out, wouldn't that be in Putin's calculation of saying, if he's weakened the alliance for me, then I don't necessarily have to do anything, because the major threat to me that he perceived has been weakened for me without even having to fire a bullet?
No, it's a lot bigger than that. So one of the reasons that he went in, one of the reasons Vladimir Putin went in, was he saw weakness everywhere. He saw it in Europe. There was no Merkel. He saw weakness in the United States, and he saw weakness in Ukraine. There was no one to stop him. It wasn't just about Trump. It's much broader than that.
I can't let it stand to say that Trump was somehow tough on Russia here. There has to be a correction involved, because the policies of the U.S. government were tough on Russia, put in place under Bush and Obama. Trump was impeached specifically because he was trying to get other people to break the law to undermine those existing policies, because he didn't want to be perceived as rolling back those policies. He was literally trying to undermine the policies of his own government by getting other people to break the law and to weaken Ukraine. And that's why he was impeached. So it's not correct to say that Trump was tough. The existing policies were tough. Trump had left them in place and then broke the law and reached the point of impeachment by trying to undermine those policies. So I have to make that correction.
We have to make that correction. And you know what was great? She tried to imply that, well, yes, like NATO, he tried to destabilize it. Well, once you say that he was trying to destabilize NATO, you're already saying that he's playing into the hands of Putin. And why? Because that is exactly what Putin wants done. So she was incoherent, and I think for all practical purposes, no one can take her seriously anymore talking about any of these issues if she refuses to accept the fact that no, Donald Trump was never, ever tougher on Russia than other previous presidents. None of them would have done the things that Donald Trump did. And as the pundit said, what is a fact is that Donald Trump was impeached for his attempt at undermining the United States of America. Not in quite those terms, but exactly that.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.